What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome to the Diablo Research Institution. Like the video if you will, hit the thumbs up button. Appreciate you guys coming by. So here now is the Necromancer. So far, this is definitely my favoritist character for show. Legend has it that the druid currently sucks big you-know-what. At least his summons do. But the thing is, with the Necromancer, when I first started, I was level 1. And I was looking around at the passive tree, and I was like, where are the skeletons? Where's Ray's skeleton or whatever? And I couldn't find it. So I was like, okay, I guess I don't have it. Little did I know, it's right here. You already have it on your skill belt. He just has it inherently, which is great. And you could raise a maximum of 4 right from the get-go. And Ray's skeleton is pretty damn viable from what I've been finding so far. Raise a skeleton from a corpse to fight for you. Once all of your skeletons have been summoned, Ray's skeleton briefly summons a skeletal priest to empower your minions for 5 seconds, increasing their damage by 20% and healing them for 10% of their maximum life. So, what I've found is they rarely die. These things are like immortal, so far anyway. So you don't have to deal with the tedious task of constantly resurrecting them or resummoning. But what's interesting about it is the passive that I mentioned. Check this out. For 5 seconds, it empowers them. And it has a little timer there. I'll show you. Let me show you it again. You see that? It gives them a little boost. So you have incentive to resummon them, basically. So it's not just a one and done thing where they're summoned, they're out, and you no longer have to do anything. You just sit back and do nothing. It kind of keeps you active. And it's not a major benefit to them, but it helps a little bit. So I kind of like that part, how it incentivizes you to stay active. Because with Diablo 2, obviously, endgame stuff, you're not really doing that. You just have all your summons out, and they're basically immortal. You summon them once in a while and they die, but that's about it. Another comparison, not that I intend to make too many comparisons to Diablo 2 with this. It's a completely different game. But what's interesting is, you're actually that Necromancer that I always wanted in Diablo 2, where you're fighting, you're killing shit with a scythe, you're shooting a bunch of, like, poison things or little bone darts and shit. And in addition to that, you have extremely viable summons. In Diablo 2, you always had to kind of go one route or the other. You could be a very powerful poison necro or bone necro, or you could be a very powerful summon necro, where either you'd just be casting your spells, or you'd just be sitting back cursing things, letting your summons kill them, casting corpse explosion once in a while. But nay, in Diablo 4, there's actually that sort of iconic Necromancer embodiment where you do wield that big-ass scythe. You're cutting up your enemies while your hombres are helping you vastly. So I really like that part about it. And check this out. There's Decrepify, kind of like Diablo 2. And at first I didn't really like the curse mechanic, or just the visual of it. How it like pretty much covers a bunch of ground and desecrates it or whatnot. Just because it was something new. But after a minute of trying it out, it is quite viable, and I do like the mechanic. And the sound effects are awesome in this game. So here's the open world. I know that many have complaints about the open world. From what it seems so far, I don't think the open world is going to be a huge part of the game, in terms of endgame especially. It's probably going to be maybe 20% or something like that, where you're fighting big-ass world bosses, maybe some other events. But it does, of course, force you to socialize a bit. As you can see there, a druid was just running around entering the dungeon. But what I do like is how you get a blend of the two, because then you go into these dungeons and you're all on your own. And these dungeons are all over the place. Like, here's another one right here. That's the one I'm next to. Here's one up here. There's little cellars about that I haven't really found yet. So they're all over the place, and those are the instances you can go in to test your character or just to join your party. But check this out. In the open world, there are events. I know a lot of you guys know this stuff already, but I'm just kind of retracing my thoughts on it. Because I think that is kind of nice how you do have some interaction. You're in a town, there's like 50 people in there or something, other players. You can go right outside of town in Sokende. And there are events that you could take part in if you want to have some of that socialization going on. But if you do want to go solo, it seems like there's plenty of dungeons and what I'm guessing are maps and things like that for endgame, but I guess we'll see how that goes. So here's an example of a dungeon, the Lost Archives. The visuals, pretty cool. Seems like the graphics are great in this game. I think I might have a couple settings turned down even for the beta. But nonetheless, the visuals I think are really impressive. So you can see this place, the caverns with ice and snow and shit. So kind of thematic. And to my understanding, they're trying to make the dungeons in, say, the maps you're in, like I'm in, what's it called, Skalsgard or something like that? Some sort of Nordic land. So they try to have all the dungeons in the Nordic land region be kind of Nordic oriented, which I think is why we're kind of getting a similar feeling with a lot of these dungeons. Granted, they could make them a little bit more diverse and shit, but we'll see how that goes on the game. I know a lot of people have been complaining about it, or on a release anyway, for the main game. So I think that's part of why we're seeing a lot of similar dungeons. So like in a desert land or whatever, I know there's one of those in Diablo 4. I'm guessing the dungeons there are going to be kind of desert and pyramid and temple oriented, which I'm really looking forward to. And the same thing with like the jungle one or whatever else the land's like. Hell, I'm sure is going to have a lot of hell-oriented dungeons, things like that. So I do kind of like that mix. And of course, right now in the beta, we can only explore Act 1. But here's some of the gameplay with this guy. So I've been cursing my enemies with Decrepify. And I have a couple... My skeletons are just killing shit so fast, it almost doesn't even matter. Let's see how fast they can just kill stuff. Because I'm a very active DPS character as well, and you'll see in a minute. So I Decrepify them, slows them down a little bit. You can get a synergy for Decrepify, where enemies take 3% more damage. It's nothing like extremely vast like D2, where it's 50% more damage. So it's just essential you cast on every single one. But it does help. You know, there are some subtle boosts you can get for it. And what's interesting is Corpse Explosion is free to cast. So check that out. I think they did that to make it controller friendly, because with D2, I did play with controller for a little bit when I got a boo-boo on my arm. And basically, skills that were variable in terms of the distance in which you could cast them were a real pain in the ass with controller. Especially with Corpse Explosion, because there'd be like enemies over here and you'd want to cast it on them, so you'd be like facing this way and you'd be hitting A and it'd just blow up the corpses nearest to you. The corpses nearest to you. In which case you drain all your mana. So by the time you got to the ones around the enemy, you were out of mana. And it was really inefficient. And it made me want to go back to keyboard and mouse. So maybe that's why they did it. Because now you might as well just spam the button for Corpse Explosion if you're on controller. Especially. And just pop them all. Not that that would be the most optimal way to play. But at least you don't find yourself out of mana because you blew up all the corpses that were too far away from your enemy to have any effect on them. But so I have this Nova skill as well. It's called Blood Surge. And check this out. That's what it does right there. So it's kind of like a nice DPS skill. Oh shit. Oh my god. Just got my ass kicked. I'm thinking there is a movement skill that I haven't learned yet, and I'll show you that skill in a moment. So basically, I've been using Blood Surge, and I put 2 points into it. Draw blood from enemies, dealing 38 to 47 damage, and of course your weapon damage adds to all these things. And expel a Blood Nova, dealing 96 to 118 damage. Blood Surge's Nova damage is increased by 10% per enemy drained. And then of course I have a few modifiers on it. And I'm using something similar to Teeth in Diablo 2. It's called Bone Splinters, where he fires 3 bone splinters, dealing 39 to 48 damage each. Each subsequent time an enemy is hit by the same cast of bone splinters, you gain 1 essence, which is like your mana. And then I did modify it, where there's a 30% chance to fire 2 additional bone projectiles of cast while you have 50 or more essence. So it does generate essence. And so does Corpse Explosion now, or any corpse-consuming effect because I learned a synergy where it's called Grim Harvest. Consuming a corpse generates 3 essence. So basically, as your corpse exploding, you're actually generating mana. So it really keeps you in the fight, which is what I like about it. So you have all your homies helping you out. You're staying in the fight by regenerating mana with spells like Corpse Explosion and even Raise Skeleton for that matter. Which, as mentioned, you do have incentive to continually cast it. So I'm about to level up here. And it's actually a very big level to hit, 15. So now, I have a new summon, Skeletal Mages. And I think I have to put that on my belt. Can I use one or the other? I think I can use both. Raise Skeleton, okay. How do you use Skeletal Mages? Maybe I have to... What? Skeletal Mages. And then you can modify them. You see this? You have a few options. So basically, Shadow Mages wield power from the beyond dealing moderate shadow damage. Alright. So, here's the first option you have. Shadow Mage attacks have 10% chance to stun for 2.53 seconds. This cannot happen in the same enemy more than once every 5 seconds. Or, Shadow Mages fire an additional Shadow Bolt every 6th attack. Or, your maximum essence is increased by 15, but you can no longer raise Skeletal Mages. So that would be a good one to have if you don't want to take up another slot on your skill belt here, I think. Assuming it works that way. But I suppose I'll do the stun one. Okay, but how do you put it on your belt? I might have to look into this a little bit more. Show unavailable skills. Okay. The fuck? So I'm gonna have to find out how the hell do you activate Skeletal Mages? Yeah, I'm not seeing it on the skill options here. So let me try to figure this out. Okay, so this is interesting. I think I figured it out. I didn't do anything. I just tried to raise another skeleton, and it started raising the mages. Now, this is a good sign, because I was worried it was going to take up another skill slot to have both the mages and the warriors out. But apparently that's not the case. Let's check this out. I just hit raise skeleton, and apparently it's referring to the mages as well. And I guess you just raise them in a consecutive order. So now I have a maxed out. Here's your tooltip. It shows the green means they're max. I'll have 4 out of 4 warriors and 3 out of 3 mages. Okay, that's interesting. And I think you can get a golem as well at 25. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, the Necromancer has this interesting thing about him. With some other characters, you won't see this. You'll just see the character selection here, and then you'll see the abilities next to it. You won't see this Book of the Dead thing, which is a special thing about the Necromancer. So, just a bit more customization there, which I'm kind of liking. Oh! And you can make them do cold or bone damage as well, as you get to 18 and then 22, and then have modifications for that. So you see, there are a lot of modifications you can make, and I'm guessing there will be more once you hit the Paragon, which you can't do in the beta, for modifying all your skeletons. I'm hoping that's the case anyway. And their visuals do change. Like these guys, you can see they have the big-ass scythes out, because what I did is I selected the Reaper one. What the fuck? Okay, here they are. Skeletal Warriors. So you had a couple options. At first, I had the Skirmishers, which were great. They were sword wielding. Then you had a couple options with them. Then you have Defenders, where they have shields, and I don't really know what the point is, but I'm sure there's some benefits of that. Looks like they have thorn damage and modifiers for that. But I went the Reaper's route because I'm a build right now who's taking advantage of corpses. And one thing about the Reaper's modifications is you can have this node selected here, where Reapers have a 15% chance to carve the flesh off enemies, forming a corpse. So they don't even have to kill the enemy. It's just every hit they inflict on the enemy, there's a 15% chance a corpse is going to appear at the enemy's feet, basically. Which is great for bosses because you can use corpse explosion on the bosses, so it's a great idea. And the generating corpses thing, I don't really like. The idea of just having a skimp out skill where you can just generate a mass of corpses. I'd rather have it integrated some other way, and it seems to me that that's a great way. And it's there's kind of a theme behind it as well, where they're skinning the enemy, and they form a small section of flesh on the ground that you could use as a corpse to explode. So yeah, this character is very... I'm really liking the Necro. It's definitely my favorite so far. In fact, I do have another skill point now. So I'm going to try this Blood Mist. I'm hoping this is a teleport-like skill, because that's one thing I miss now about the sorcerers, they could teleport. And of course, if they're the only one who can do something like that, everyone's going to want to be the frickin' sorcerer again, just like D2. We're having D2 all over again, where 90% of the players are the sorceress. And I'd rather not have to be forced into that, so let's see if this is a movement skill. I think it is. It's called Blood Mist, and I actually found a legendary that benefits this skill. Now, it has an 18-second cooldown, so quite a cooldown. Disperse into a bloody mist, becoming immune for 3 seconds. Your movement speed is reduced by 20%, and you periodically deal 3 to 3 damage to your enemies, and healing for 0.5% of your maximum life. Now, of course, your weapon damage is added to all that, so this isn't really a skill with damage in mind. It looks like it has immunity things in mind and all that, immunity shit. But there's actually a mage node I can max out here now, which I'll probably start doing next, where it increases their damage. But let's check out, let's see what the mages do. I haven't really been watching them all that closely. Okay, so I'm gonna use the teleport skill. Oh, shit. Alright, so it's not teleport. Maybe he doesn't have a movement skill. I guess maybe that's the sacrifice you have to make if you're this godly. So here's the mage. Oh my god. Very nice damage. Look at this. They're just killing everything. I don't even have to do anything. This is really chill. Which is why I like it. But yeah, if you are active, it can be a very effective build. Crepify. It's cool how it kind of reminds me of Diablo 2. Slows the enemies by 40%. So vast slow effect on it. And it decreases their damage, I think, by 20%. 20% less damage for 12 seconds at one level. So I'm going to make my way over to the boss. And I'll do that boss fight. We'll see if he drops a legendary. To my understanding, legendary drops have been increased in the beta. But keep in mind there's a difference from uniques and legendaries in Diablo 4. Where the uniques are going to be like the uniques in D2, to my understanding. They're going to have a pretty rare chance to drop. And they're going to have even more like of a unique effect than what you get with these legendaries, where say they just kind of boost your skills a little bit. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what they come up with that. Because I have found 2 uniques with this guy so far, or legendaries so far. A Smiting Wizard's Touch, which is a legendary wand. And it gives me a 14% increased critical strike against injured enemies. And then I found a blood-soaked Vajra, legendary focus, where Blood Mist leaves a trail that lasts for 4 seconds and deals 36 shadow damage per second to enemies who stand in it. Your movement speed is no longer reduced while Blood Mist is active. So I leave a trail. Am I leaving a trail? What the hell? I didn't really notice the trail. But okay. Apparently it modifies that somehow. But I'll get to the boss, and I'll show you the boss fight. We'll see how that goes. I'm guessing I'm going to obliterate it, because the Necromancer has been really godly so far. And I hope they don't nerf it, because this has been a damn good time. We'll see you guys in a minute. So I figured out what this trail of shadow is that this thing leaves behind, this skill that's modified by my offhand here. Check this out. It's very faint, but you can see like a mist around him. And it's actually quite effective. So check this out. I'll go through the enemies. I'll find a little swarm. And I'll pass through them. You see that? Does some DPS to him. And it was quite effective against a mass just a moment ago. So, not a bad... Here, let's try it again. Oh! Alright. Be on my way to the boss now. Yeah, it leaves a little trail. I mean, it's okay. With more weapon damage, it'd be a lot more telling. My weapon isn't all that great right now. But yeah, I'm still doing quite well, I would say. This Necromancer is awesome. And I have 7 summons out right now. When I hit 25, apparently I can have out a golem. And I'm guessing there's gear that'll potentially even maybe give you more summons. So, yeah, the more the merrier. It's been a damn good time. But let's kill that boss, we'll see how that goes. Is this the boss? Resurrected Malice. I don't know if it's the boss, but it's pretty damn easy. Look at this, you can just chill back. Look at this. Oh my god, and look at the corpses. See, check it out, you can just blow his ass up now. And they don't even die. They're all still living, man. They're all still undead and shit. Wow! Look at all the corpses they're making. Oh my god, are you kidding me? That was extremely easy. Yeah, so Necromancer is my favorite class so far, and I intend to make one at launch if it continues to be this way. And I hope they don't nerf it. But anyway, appreciate you guys coming by. Like the video, subscribe to the page. More videos to come. Peace be with you.